blessed Japanese sports cars.
So in this one, I'm gonna do 20 tips to my younger self. So I wanted to make the advice to my younger self. I saw it floating around YouTube like a long time ago. It might have been maybe like 3, 4 years ago. And I just remember it being such a really cool topic, and I really wanted to make it for myself because my life was really complex. And I think that I could have really known a lot more and done a lot more had I known these things. So I think if I were to share them with you all, it would be really cool because I know that from my experience, what I've seen, a lot of stuff really isn't real. So I just wanted to give you guys a real, advice to younger self. And I just think it's also cool because this list is very real, and it's something that if you're like a deep thinker, you can really reflect on and like maybe find something in. A lot of it is race specific, so forgive me in the beginning, you know what I mean, if a lot of this stuff doesn't apply to you. But it's just things that I think that will really help someone like me in general. So that's what this list is about, and that's who it's really for. This is gonna be 21 tips to my younger self. One is write down your thoughts to shape your ideas. It's one thing to have moments throughout your life where you're really like up, or you're like feeling like, you know what I'm saying, you're in tune with the universe and all that. And you'll be like really like happy or whatever. You'll be really focused because in that moment or in that bit of time, you know what I mean, what you need to know, you're really knowing. But you got to really write those things down, all right? Like if you're sitting there and you have like your life's path and your direction like all sorted out in your mind, you got to write that down. So that way you can revisit it, so you can really shape that idea and not just have it in your head. Life will throw different things at you to make your world seem to be a bit different. And then when you have to go revisit those things, it's almost like they get lost in time. So you really just want to write down your thoughts to shape your ideas. And that's for anyone that has a complex mind that really wants to actually apply those things into the real world. Number 2, you're going to have to fight in order to have anything, even your own freedom. That's what being a black man means. So if you are black and you want to know what it means to be a black man, it means you're always going to have to fight to stay in your own zone, because everything in the world is going to be trying to knock you out of it. Everything in the world is going to be trying to keep you down. Everything in the world is going to be trying to keep you out. Everything in the world is going to be trying to be like, nah. Everything in the world is going to be aimed at annihilating you first. So if what it means for you being a black man is it means you're gonna have to fight all day, every day, nonstop. This is the reason why a lot of your celebrities start off real cool and then at the end they just kind of flip. The reason being is because eventually the pressure gets to them and they just stop fighting. Will sit there and go from 0 to 1,000, be in all these vast positions, and then all of a sudden you see them fold, and then you'll just be like, damn, what happened? What happened is I'm tired of fighting. What I'm going to tell you like this, if you stop fighting, it might be smooth for like maybe like the first 2.5 years, but eventually that shit is going to catch up with your soul. So if you want to be real and everything like that, you got to fight for your absolute existence. And that's what being a black man means. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3, this is a really cool one. Don't romantically associate with too many women, especially ones you see as living much lower than their potential. They're too often too simple-minded to not become an enemy. Unrealized potential women become stalkers because they can never do better. Furthermore, they keep the company of low men who will often also make weak attacks incognito out of jealousy. All right, so that's kind of like a kind of a paragraph I kind of wrote. But overall, it's just basically like, don't involve yourself with too many women, period. Like, don't romantically associate with too many women, especially women that you see kind of like living like really below their potential. And the reason being is because you involving yourself with them, like the world will sit there and make it seem like you can just sleep around. You know what I mean? The world will make it seem like, you know, you can just be in people's lives and then just, go about yours. Like at the end of the day, like you could find a way to like go about yours and you know what I mean? Like you could have all these partners, but in real life, you really can't. Not to the capacity that you actually know who they are. Like if you're sitting there like on little apps or whatever, and you're really jumping in and out of houses and in and out of cars like all the time, you could get away with that way more. But if you're the type of person who go through the stress of getting to know them, their information, and they have yours, like dealing with too many women like that is not a good idea. Once you make that connection, you can't unconnect. So you don't want to associate with too many people. People exist on different levels. You might just be thinking like, oh, let's just, do whatever. Just understand that they're always going to remember you and they're always going to have that association with you. If they can never do better than you, just imagine what you are to them. Imagine what you are to them if they can never do better than you. So no matter what you do, they're always going to be checking you out. They're always going to be looking at you, trying to see what you're doing. They're always going to be reacting to everything it is that you do. Like you'll be sitting there, you hadn't talked in years, and they'll still be reacting to everything that you do. And you'll know because there'll be like little dudes, in your vicinity always bouncing and moving around and acting weird all the damn time. Bouncing off of her, reacting to you. And this is what happens when you run into like a lot of the wrong people. So it's like you don't really want to associate romantically with too many people. I mean, also, it doesn't really do anything for you. Really, in real life, it's really just going to hold you back. It's way more energy than you think. It's better for things literally for all the stars to just align and for you to kind of go about it like that. You don't really want to just be like romantically associated with like 50 women and shit like that. All that means is you're going to have stalkers in the long run. Every time, you deal with some chick or something like that, they're going to be popping up some kind of way. And so that's really what it really means in real life. So in real life, you don't want to really associate romantically with too many women. The world kind of portrays being a dude, having all these women as winning, and really it's not. It's really not. You know what I mean? If that's not who you are, you get all these relationships you got to maintain and keep up. You only have one life. Like thinking that's the purpose of life is like to go and just like, have the most attractive women. It's not. And you'll end up in a lot of relationships that'll really just hold you back in life. In real life. You know what I mean? You're on one trajectory. The other person can totally change the whole path of where you're even going. And just sitting there looking at it like, oh man, this person's attractive, or like, oh man, I'm a player, or something like that. Like you sitting there keeping a score, no one's really knowing, is not really going to save you from the bad relationships you can end up in and the people you'll end up being involved with. All right. So don't romantically associate with too many people. That's number 3. So here's number 4. Nothing was the same after the 80s to 90s. Don't let them calling you not black hurt you. One thing you'll realize when you're like black and exceptional is a lot of motherfuckers will be like, you're not black. They'll just hit you with that. And it'll really throw you off because it's one of those things that like you can't really attribute to anything besides like absolute ignorance. So you'll never really understand it. A lot of people let it get to them, and what it ends up forcing them to do is to downplay themselves in order to fit in. And so the way you can really look at it, if you really are someone that thinks, at that frequency, is that really you're kind of like a discontinued version. If you're like a real person, you know what I mean? If you have real empathy, if you're just like a strong individual and you have good characteristics, you have to realize that you're just kind of a discontinued version. It kind of hurts them to see you because they're not able to really be the same as you. So they're just going to basically just totally just disqualify you entirely. They'll be like, oh no, you're not even black. Like this is impossible. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to kind of look at it like that. Another way you can also look at it is like being white is like really like a social status. So if someone says you're not black, just don't even trip over. Just be like, damn. Unless you really are trying to put on that, you know what I mean, that deliberate accent, that deliberate character, then yeah, you know that you're just being yourself and you have identity and all those other things, and you have like education and stuff like that. If someone says that you're not black, just look at it as what it is, as them telling you who they are more than anything and how they see you, and that's just kind of like a way that you kind of look at it. Unfortunately, that's just the way things are. Oh man, this is a crazy list. So number 5, Obama won because of Michelle. Number 6, Malcolm X wasn't vile. Don't confuse the vile for the freedom fighter. One mistake I used to make a lot growing up is I used to think that like the black mean person is like always, you know what I'm saying, like mean and mad as. I used to think that that was like the dude back in the 70s that would like fight for us. I think that was the dude that used to stand up, just like the mustache and the light bush, and I'm saying like the freedom fighter type dude. I used to think that those dudes, the ones that were like really mean, were like the freedom fighters of the past. So I used to give them mad respect. But with a lot of times, I don't even know, man. I can't really say much else besides that. If someone is vile towards you, it's because of the darkness in their heart and the content they have for you. Like Malcolm X wasn't vile. He wasn't the type of person that would just be sitting there and just be like wishing like negative things upon you. You know what I mean? He wouldn't just be like, you know what I mean, constantly like looking at you just like gritting, just mad at you. And it's hard to understand because visually on TV, you're taught to believe that like the super black individual is like fighting for himself at every moment. And if he's successful in life, it's because like he held himself down because he couldn't escape it. But a lot of times you be surprised, be the type of dude that will be really vile towards you. And you have to understand that you can't confuse them with the freedom fighter. And so that's just like kind of my advice. Like I always had a soft spot for like really black looking people. And I always thought that if you looked like mad black and you had a lot of like the typical features and you had them in spades, that it said something about you being real. And I could have never been more wrong. So don't ever, those people a lot of times would be vile. And I think maybe it was because I had so much love for them. I don't know. So just don't confuse them with the freedom fighters. Number 7, you're late to the conscious party. You're a positive model they secretly follow. And that's just what it means. This video has been kind of long, so I just want to fly through that one. Number 8, general college education, if any at all. Demasculinization is the ultimate challenge as you'll be abandoned in success. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is a lot. How can I summarize? As a young black man, you gotta really understand the difference between being a worker, having a career, living a life, setting a path. You have to understand the differences in all of those things. And you have to aim higher than just being a worker. You have to be able to understand what setting a path is. If you want to have control over your life. And so to say a general college education, if any at all, demasculinization is the ultimate challenge as you'll be abandoned in success. What I'm basically saying is that if you try to go down like a typical route, like, oh, you're going to be a doctor, or you say that you're going to be like a biologist or librarian, or you're going to be like an engineer, you got to understand that by you just traveling up the basic ladder, you're not going to get support from your people. As you kind of succeed and you get beyond certain levels, the higher you get, the more you realize that there's no black people there. And there's especially no black men. So if you're going to be that high up, where it's just you, because it's so easy to take you down, you got to really be able to have a reason to be there. You can't just be there just because you want to work on cars. You can't just be there because, you know what I'm saying, you want to, you know what I mean, work at restaurants. You can't just be there because you say you want to work on computers. It has to be a passion of yours, so that way you have actual solutions to your obstacles. Because what's going to happen is you'll just be up there just doing whatever it is that you do, and you're going to be hit with a whole bunch of things that are going to be pushed there to push you down, and you're not going to have any way to stay up. because you're not going to feel like fighting all these people off for just a position of just doing work. Because who gives a fuck about going to work? Like, you got to be in a place where you love to be there, where you're incredibly strong. You have to be in a place where like no one can tell you what's wrong because you know exactly what's right. Like when Obama won, that's how he won. He won because he really wanted to be president. He really wanted to say, I guess, the things that he said. And so wherever it is that you go, you got to really want to be there. Even, for example, the greatest of your athletes, at that point, they wanted to really be there. That point that they made, they really wanted to be there. Michael Jordan was not playing. He wanted to be there. Tiger Woods was not playing. He wanted to be there. So wherever it is you're going, you got to really want to be there. And the only way you're going to really be able to do that is by really going where you're supposed to be. And you know, for that reason, whatever direction you proceed in order to be more than just a dirt work, it has to be something of passion you can achieve excellence in. That way you'll have control and you'll have like stability and actual control. Conversions are made at high levels because lack of support in the elite realm. See, when you get up there, if you don't have any support, how you supposed to stay? This is why a lot of people, when your heroes, when they get up there, they convert and shit like that. And you'll be like, damn, what happened to him? That's what happened. He got tired of fighting. And he didn't really have anything keeping him afloat. So in a general college education, if any, when it comes to college education, if a college education is in the way of what you got to do, then you get the college education. If it's in the way of what you got to do. But what's the question? The question is, what is it that you have to do? What is it you have to do? And is a college education really in the way of that? There's a lot of things that you could be having to do that college education just isn't in the way of. If you have to do with art and music, college education isn't in the way of that. Unless you want to be up at the Smithsonian and certified and all that. Or maybe that's what it is you're supposed to do. But if that's the case, then you'll get the education and you'll fly through it. And that's the difference too. You'll be sitting there in school, you'll be like, oh man, this motherfucker, how the fuck is it he's getting all these A's really easy? It's because he knows that he's supposed to get to the end of the finish line, doing what he knows he's destined to do. And that's the difference. That's the reason why it's so much easy for him and it's so much harder for you. So that's why you got to really just know if you need a college education, if any general one is cool, but you know, everything else will sort itself out depending on the direction you're supposed to go. Music is a reflection of people's minds, okay? What's known as real will end entirely in '08. That's another high statement that I'm just going to leave there because I want to get through this list. All right, number 10. Think like a felon and aim to leave the country. Consider merchant work. Understand the only real currency are assets. That's true, you know, and the whole thing about think like a felon, you know, it's interesting because like when I was locked up recently, I was just hanging out and I was talking to one of the dudes and he was just running through, you know, what he was going through. And I was kind of putting myself in his shoes and I was kind of like, you know, just portraying down to him just the best I could, something that was real. One of the things I was telling him was like, when I was younger, I kind of really wouldn't have mind getting a felony because it would have forced my mind to be in the right context. So I've written this note out, and in one version of the note, I really wrote catch a felony. It's not that you're supposed to catch a felony. Understand that the only real currency is assets. So whatever you do, it has to kind of achieve that in order to be worth your mind and your time. You can't just be sitting there thinking to yourself, oh, I'm about to go work for this man and then I'm about to do that for X, Y, and Z, X amount of years. It doesn't work that way if it doesn't amount to assets. If all you're able to do with it is pay rent, if all you're able to do with it is just get something to eat or you're able to be fly in that moment, that's not fly at all. You have a felony, you're not thinking in terms of, oh, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to work for this man, because you can't do none of that shit. I really think in terms of assets in the long run. And that's kind of like a real kind of like twisted way to share that information. But this is advice to my younger self. So this is number 11. Stop smoking and drinking and taking Adderall. These are real drugs by definition because they disorient your conscious without any positive outcome. So smoking, what am I talking about? I'm talking about smoking cigarettes. Nicotine things like uppers, like super uppers, any type of super upper is not really what's good for you. Adderall, the stuff that people take, amphetamines and Adderall, stuff that like speeds up your brain, and drinking alcohol, stuff that totally intoxicates your body and suppresses your conscience. Those are real drugs. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how tough you are. I sit there and tell you like, yo, smoke 10 cigarettes. Like you'll really almost die. So, and alcohol is kind of like the same thing. You can only really drink so much alcohol, but it also destroys your conscience. You can't do anything with alcohol. And then also Adderall. Adderall speeds up your mind. It burns out your brain. It destroys it destroys your mind. So what it's really doing is running you out. And if you're taking it in bad conditions without proper nutrition, like I was, you're just kind of intoxicating yourself. So you have to stop doing those things. I used to take Adderall because I used to think it was like good for me. I used to think like, oh, let me take this Adderall so I can like make sure I get the bus and I'm on time for this and I'm able to do this. And the whole time you're taking like real drugs. And I used to drink alcohol all the time, but like you still are really destroying your body. And then just smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke cigarettes because I used to think the shit was cool. Like that shit is dumb. And that's what I wrote in my note. Just smoke instead. That way you can meditate on things. The reason you get nauseous is because the sides of mixing smoking with Adderall, similar to nicotine, is designed to burn out your mind. Also, I believe that adverse side effects were intentional. So I used to get sick all the time when I used to like party and I didn't know why. I used to always be sick because I used to be taking mad Adderall and smoking weed and the mixed combination of the two, the side effects, it was just mad crazy. I remember the Adderall used to have me like grinding my teeth. I used to be sitting there like grinding my teeth all the time and I used to overthink and triple think and quadruple think simple things and it just was mad crazy. Motherfucker would be like mad stiff and dumb. Parents were giving that shit to their kids. Like that shit was fucking kids up. And I really think that a lot of that stuff was intentional. I think this shit was designed to try to fuck up people's minds. And I don't want to deliberately get too off on that, but basically that's just what I mean. Just smoke. If you're going to do anything, just smoke. You need stuff that's going to expand your mind. You need stuff that's going to really help you get things to get done and shit like that. You don't need to be fucking yourself up because life is going to really come at you and you need to be able to stand tall. You need to be able to figure everything out on your own. You don't need to be all fucking slow and fucking dumb. Fuck Adderall. Fuck Adderall. So if you're watching this video, you're getting some real advice because that shit is fucking real. So this is some great advice. This is number 12. Sort out your type. I might make this video 2 parts because this shit is long. I think I'm gonna make it 2 parts. So this is number 12. Sort out your type. So your relationships won't be a waste and make sense. More importantly, so women being attractive won't throw you off. There's no point in game. It's really a curse to be with a hot girl that's not your type. By sorting out your type, you won't waste your time on looks or be disorientated by an ass. Man, sort out your type. Sort out your type. Sort out your type. Because when you deal with women that aren't your type, it's really a waste of time. Like there's certain levels of, I guess you could say, like manhood that you could kind of go through when dealing with women. Like there's like the lowest level, which is the beginner phase. And I'm gonna just put this on video because I never heard this shit anywhere. So I'm just gonna break it down like in real facts for y'all, like how it really goes. There's the beginner phase where you just trying to like deal with women to like validate yourself. So you think that like, you dealing with all these women, it says you're the man. So like you're gonna go on a mission in your life to try to deal with all these like fly women. So deep down inside, you could say that it's you. When in real life, it just means that you just did all the shit you had to do to deal with those women. That's really all that means, all right? Then you're going to kind of like go through this phase where you're going to be like trying to figure out like how you're supposed to like actually excel as a man and deal with women at the same time. That's the point where you're really going to try to build. This is like when you get into that sort of alpha realm, when a dude is not really tripping over a broad, he's really just trying to go somewhere. So at the end of the day, that broad's going to either compliment him or not. And at this stage, it's really kind of ego driven because you're really trying to kind of like, a lot of times with the way dudes are these days, you're trying to like fill a facade. Like you're really trying to like put on an image a lot of times. Like you're really trying to be like, you know what I mean? Like Von Don or some shit like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you listen to some music, like you're really trying to be this dude. So like you're really like in your real life trying to like put on a stunt. Like a lot of times, like a lot of dudes, you'll see that a lot of times. Where it's like they'll just be trying to be like mad fly. And the reason you'll know this is because they'll be dealing with like really attractive women, but those women will be straight like thoughts, or like the women will be straight like sluts, or like the worst person for them. And the reason being is because they're once again trying to sustain the facade. So their whole thing is like trying to sustain the women and trying to like sustain their life at the same time. That is a phase. All right. And that is also something that you can go through in real life, or you can be just told to avoid. But I mean, that is the phase where you're kind of like dealing with hoes and shit like that. This is the reason why you want to really be able to sort out your type. Because in real life, there's another phase beyond that. And that's when you deal with women that are really supposed to be in your life. And the thing that happens with this is, as you're going through life, these women will just like pop in and out no matter what you're doing, and they'll just fuck you up. Then you'll meet a woman that's really supposed to be in your life, and then you'll end up falling in love or some dumb shit like that. And this is the reason why dudes always get fucked up, unless they're like really dumb or they're just like permanently hurt. And this is because they don't sort out their type. They just kind of go through life doing what's working for them or what's getting them in the front door. And that's kind of like the way society raises you, and that's wrong. You have to really think to yourself, like the type of women that are in line with the things that you're trying to do. Like, for example, if you're the type of dude that like is into boxing, then really your type of woman is into boxing too. You have to sort that out in your mind to understand that. And if you don't sort that out in your mind, you'll spend a lot of time dealing with a lot of women that are not for you. What you want to do is just take your time to think to yourself, like, what type of women do I really like? And that's the type of woman that's supposed to be in your life. Are really aligned with those women. You deal with a lot of women, or you run through life or whatever, is like you'll run into a lot of women and they'll always be tripping over one dude, some guy. And then you'll realize that you're always sitting there competing with this guy. Why? Because that guy was more so their type. You see what I'm saying? And so what you have to do is you need to sort out your type, because in real life, you will align with your type. And so you don't have to spend all your energy chasing after this one or after that one. Or you don't have to be like this dude that's always just trying to, you know what I mean, do whatever or stay fly or any type of thing like that. You can really focus on yourself in the meantime. Because all that game and shit like that is a waste of time. And I think did I write that in the... Yes, I wrote that. There's no point in game. Game is really what you think it is. Game is really you like sitting there processing in your mind, what's the best thing for me to say at this point? What's the best thing for me to do right now? How am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do all damn time? So now you spending your whole motherfucking life processing shit all the motherfucking time, not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You spending all your time doing this over aren't even yours. And so now you sitting here, you done put on this crazy game just to, you know what I'm saying, lay down with a bra, and she tripping on over a whole dude that's not even really thinking about her. Because that dude is more her type. While you doing all that, you know, you might win, you might lose. You'll actually eventually run into a woman that's actually your type. And then when you run into that woman, you'll just be like, wow, this is a whole different life. I have a whole different mind to actually going the way I'm supposed to go. But what you'll realize is also in line with the life you're supposed to be living. So if you're not living the life you're supposed to be living, you're never going to be able to sustain the woman that's your type. So it's better you just focus your energy on the woman that's your type, and you focus on your life. And then as your life gets better, women will then add to your life, really the way it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to be out here like smashing, crashing, smashing. Even when you're able to do that, it's not even worth it. You just get tired. Like, how else are you supposed to get anything else done? And so that's really kind of like speeding you up through like the stages of dealing with women. Just sort out your type so you won't be all fucking sidetracked and fucking dumb like these motherfuckers out here. These goofy ass motherfuckers that do anything for a fucking woman. I don't know, man. This video is too long. This shit is way too fucking long. but I'm almost done. Number 13. After the 90s, most people won't have class or believe in God. After the 90s, most people will not have class or believe in God. So what is that? That's the red pill, right? Motherfuckers be talking about blue pill, red pill, whatever. All you have to know is this. The blue pill is God, Christ. The red pill is atheism. That's the reason why you got to be all red pilled up and there's this whole red pill view of like women and things like that. That's atheism. And if someone is taking the red pill, then that's just their view. It doesn't mean that the blue pill doesn't exist. The blue pill is very real. It's just a lot of people have taken the red. A lot of people have gone for atheism. That's why you're getting this whole entire change in views. And it's kind of important to know that after the 90s, because what that means is that from 2000 on, you don't look at people like as the best in them. Don't be sitting there looking at people like, oh, it's the best. Or always looking at people trying to see the best in them, taking them for the best. Because the world changed their views. That's the reason why they're sitting there trying to fight for all this dumb intellectual stuff that's blatantly wrong. Because they're living in an atheistic sense. But honestly, the truth about atheism is it always ends in eugenics anyway. So it's almost like they're just sitting here doing this dumb dance. And that was some of the deepest shit I could ever say, and that's number 13. Just remember, after the 90s, most people will not have class or believe in God. Number 14, this is very personal, but you don't know how attractive you are. You get a lot of criticism because of how attractive you are. What you go through is not normal. What you go through in spades. Most of the time, criticism is just a premise for hate. Inferiority is unspoken, which is why you'll always be hated at large. One thing I didn't understand growing up is why I was hated so much. But at the same time, I never understood how attractive I was. So that's basically what that means. Number 15. Nothing. Damn, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired. We got 5 more. So I'm gonna try to get through this. This video is long as shit. Number 15. Nothing positive can come from association with a hater. Keeping it real, lowering yourself to a relatable level is a quick way to get hated on. They'll respect you more if at all looking up. Even if you hide your greatness, it will be interpreted by lessers as deception or a setup. All right. So that was kind of a lot. But it's just to simply say, if you're in an environment where people are giving you bad vibes, nothing positive can ever be result from that environment. Nothing. And it doesn't matter how much you try to change your personality, it's not going to change nothing. Once a motherfucker has determined that they're envious of you or they've given you vibes that they are envious of you, that's it. You are just hated in that area. Now, keeping it real and trying to lower yourself, this is something that like people will do a lot. And this is something that I used to think was like a way of like, I don't even know, like just trying to like be around, because I would never really think that people would have such envy or contempt or like dislike for me. I used to always think that maybe they were just tripping in the moment, or you know how sometimes people would just be like, oh yeah, you know, they're not really like that. Like I used to really think shit like that in my mind. So I used to think that if I just kept it real and I just like, you know, just showed like mad love, that like eventually like it'd be cool to be around and something positive can come from it, like an ultimate lesson or something like that. Like everything would end happily ever after, and that's just not true at all. You try to lower yourself to a relatable level, that's an even faster way to get hated on, because motherfuckers ain't getting fooled at all. And the reason why I think this was a hard thing for me to understand, and the reason why this is kind of like tied to a perception of a blue pill, is because it comes from the core belief that everyone is equal. And in an atheist society, everyone is not equal. And you have to really understand that. So after the 90s, this is the reason why keeping it real doesn't work. After the 90s, keeping it real stopped working. Is because now that we're on an unequal playing field, we're looking at things differently. And if you're seen as being better than someone, then that's what it means to get hated on. So it's not particularly a bad thing. It's really more communication. But like I said, they'll respect you more if at all looking up. So it means you gotta move on. You can't keep, you know what I'm saying, trying to be around, trying to be down and all that other shit. It means you really have to move on. Sometimes it can be really sad. Like when I was in New York, that shit broke me. That shit broke my heart. But it means you have to move on. And in real life, they didn't even hate me in New York. They really love me. They love me to death. But still, it means you have to move on. If you getting those negative vibes, you just need to fucking move on. Because even for those that can't really see it, or those that don't know, or just those that just, even those on the most wackest spiritual level, for you being around, they kind of think that like it's like you're taking advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? And like, or like you're like you're trying to set a trap, or like you're trying to take over something. They don't know. You see what I'm saying? And on top of that, there's also a lot of other things going on. So if you're just getting like hated on and stuff like that, don't be trying to keep it real and shit like that. You just got to keep moving on. You have to move up. You just got to move up. That's it. Until you're not getting hated on. Nothing positive can come from association with the hater. And it was just hard for me to understand that growing up because I always felt like keeping it real overpowered all. And that's what it means to kind of like be born like more so in the Lord. You know, just to be like, love triumphs overall. Love does triumph overall, but you got to understand in the atheistic world, there's just different forms of communication. And being hated on is more than a warning than anything. So take it that way. Number 16. Here it is. This fucking video is long as shit. Number 16. That one is so real. I made another one. Wow. Let me do the lighter version. Number 16. I might give you the bonus content. I don't know. Number 16. There's no real friends in adulthood. Just network leaders and followers. Once you become an adult, there's no real friends. Your realest friends are in times of your life where you're able to journey on. I've always been as popular as I ever cared to be. So I never had a desire in my heart for friends. I never grew up like, oh man, I wish I could have friends, because I always had more friends than I ever knew what to do with. So I never was like the type of person to really care about having friends. So coming into adulthood, I understood why I didn't have like friends. I understood why I had networks. Because the friends that I did have growing up, like you see through those relationships, like what sort of just pure, just like unpurposeful friendship does. You know, it's like you have friends, but you can't really replace them. You know, so it's kind of like, I don't really know how to explain it, but you don't really trip over it. But society will make you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do because you don't have friends. Like you might be in a marriage or something, and like, you know, the big problem with your marriage is you just don't have friends. Like that's not really a real problem. You know, and I wanted to kind of let you know that because it'll put you in situations that will take you down. You as an adult trying to make friends with people, not approaching, respecting people, and just like, or not even so respecting people, but not understanding that they think more networking. You just have to know that you can't really be making friends, you know, unless you're really going in the right path of your life. And you'll know when you're on that righteous path, a real bond through that. But in like just a regular dull world where you're not living your purpose, where you're literally living from sun up to sundown, and you live Monday through Friday, what are you making a friend based upon? So that's something you have to think about. Oh man. All right, so here we go. Number 17, become a vegetarian. I'm gonna kind of speed through these because this video is dumb long. Number 18. Number 18, this one is crazy. There's a whole lot of snitching going on. Stay out. That's just to tell you, like, there's no reason for you to go back. There's no reason for you to go back. You have to continue to go forward. Or you have to just strengthen wherever you are and make sure that you're able to achieve that high path of consciousness. Whew, man, that one is tough. Number 19. And that was another high level statement, so I hope you guys got that one. Number 19, God is real. Absolutely. Read the Bible. Number 19 is crazy because growing up, I'm not going to ever say I didn't think God was real, but I tried my hardest not to know anything in the Bible because I didn't want to be held accountable. So like I saw like blessings and everything, but like I just was like, I do not want to read the Bible because I do not want God coming in between me and this money. I don't want God coming between me and these fly ass whips. This music, I don't want God coming in between me and this life. So I just don't want to know nothing I don't want to know nothing about what God is going on because I'm really just trying to do my thing. I'm not going to do anything wrong. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I just am not really trying to know too much about God because I'm just trying to do my thing. I'm just trying to live fly while I'm young. I was like, but as I get older, I'll get to know God like everybody else. Like that's kind of the shit that I was on. And oh, man, it's crazy because saying it is hard for me not to sit here and be like, yo, yeah, it's better just to sin blindly. That way you don't have to be held accountable. But what you got to understand this, because you don't know what's going on doesn't mean it's not happening and it's not real. And if you don't know anything about God, if you can't talk to God, then you're really kind of tripping. Because God's still going to do whatever he's going to do if you don't do what you're supposed to do and stuff like that. And not listening to God is more so putting faith in what you do listen to. And I think that that's kind of like a better way to put it. Not listening to God is more so putting faith in what you do listen to. Choosing ignorance is never a good route. It's better to even know what you're doing, so at least you can know what you're doing. At least you can live at a next level of existence where you have control of what you need to have control over, where you have control over everything. Giving up self-control is never a good thing. And not knowing God is a level of giving up self-control. If you can sit there and know God, if you can sit there and talk to God and understand that God is real, and make whatever decisions you want to make, then that's cool. But if you don't really know who God is and you think that you're like living a fly life doing what it is you're trying to do and you're just like not listening to God or like respect, you're tripping. And so that's really why number 19 is a point of like God is real. Absolutely. And there's so many different levels to it that I can't even get through. But that's the reason why number 19 is that. Number 20. And this is the last one before I decide which one I'm going to do as bonus content. I have 2 points I can share, and only one is going to be bonus content. But they're both really mind-blowing if you've made it, especially this far. Number 20. What's most important is your mentality. What's most important is your mentality. So no matter what it is you go through in life, no matter wherever it is you go, no matter like however it is you feel, no matter like what happens, like you could like get stabbed in the head, you could get shot, you could, everyone around you can die, like, shit can explode, whatever. Like you can go through some harsh situations in your life. Like me personally, losing my phone has been pretty crazy at a lot of times throughout my life. And I've lost my phone a lot. And so just going through the experience or even like fighting for your life, or like fighting to end someone else's life. Like Those experiences are experiences that can really shape your mind. And what you have to understand, number 20, is what's most important is your mentality through it all. You got to really look at your mentality, analyze your mentality, because a lot of people are just living facades. I'm going to keep it a buck. A lot of people, life has kind of hit them different ways, and now they're living facades. They're living an image of a person that has the least amount of resistance. So they're a totally different person than the image they project and they are. This is why I'm telling you that what's most important is your mentality. So you can always be who you really are. So you never have too much detachment from who you are. So you can always be strong and be able to make the best decision at the best time. This is similar to like knowing God. Your mentality is what you really got to criticize. Your mentality is what really has to be fly. Your mentality is what really has to be right. How do you feel in this situation? Check yourself. Make sure that, like, the way that you're moving right. Like, make sure that your mind is still strong. If you go through hell in your life, make sure that in your mind you're still right. Make sure in your mind you're still like, I don't give a fuck. Because if you let the situation of your life break you down in your mind to where in your mind you're like beat down, in your mind you're like a little girl, then what happens is as life continues on, you can only take so much. If I'm a little in my mind and a motherfucker mentally hits me with motherfucking baseball bats, if a motherfucker mentally tries to kill me, what can I really do? And see, what happens is a lot of times you'll have someone who will, a hero of yours, this is why they break down. Because eventually they lose their mentality. That's why they change so much. You'll be like, who is this? I don't remember this dude. This isn't the dude that graduated from college and did all this shit in the NAACP. This isn't the dude that got the ring at that time that he got the ring. This isn't the dude that knocked this dude out and he was talking about being the, this isn't him. That's why, because they lose their mentality. No matter what you go through, you can always sustain your mentality. And so it's important that but through knowing God, you will sustain an iron mentality. The mentality of a king. You keep that in your mind. You see different things on children. Motherfucker will, you'll see different things on kids. You'll see different things in posters. Different statements. I'm a king. I'm a queen. Is that who you are in your mind? Is that how you're moving in your mind? That's what's most important, who you are in your mind. Who I am to this day, I'm able to be because who I was in my mind. I've been through harsh times, but never in my mind was I broken down. Never in my mind did I lose my mind. Never in my mind did I lose my purpose, my heart, my drive, my fight, my will. So I'm always able to shine. You lose that. You lose your mentality. You lose your mind. You cut to the point where you're just a slum, where you're just a dog, where you're just dirt. You have lost your mind. You lose your potential when you lose your mind. What's most important is your mentality. On the street, there's a lot of undercovers. But on the street, it's some real people that's out there really struggling. They're spending their life getting high. But they're getting high because they're trying to get out of their mind. Gone. They in a whole nother galaxy. And so through it all, what's important is your mentality. You get locked up. Okay, hold it down. Hold down your mentality. Somebody die. Okay, hold it down. Hold down your mentality. You lose your job. Okay, hold it down. Hold down your mentality. Shit get hard. Okay, hold it down. Hold down your motherfucking mentality. Don't be in your motherfucking mind crying and fucking screaming and shit and dying. I got this story about this time when I was on my way to hell and it was like 50 of us and everybody else screaming because they thought they were about to get frying. And me and them chilling. But we were the realest fucking ones. But that's what happens when you have a God mentality. So that's when I'm leaving on number 20 is what's most important is your mentality. And so in this one, just to wrap it up, there was some bonus content. And so there was this one tip that I wrote twice because one of the points was so real, it was like, I don't know if I could really share it. And then there was another point that was a little bit more spiritual. And so I'm trying to decide if I'm going to share any of those at all as bonus content. And I think because I'm happy the way this video went, I'm going to share one of them as bonus content, especially if you've made this far. So the bonus content is, if you've made this far and you're into my channel, maybe my playlist, maybe my music, especially if you're into my music and my playlist, you could be psychic. So that's it. That's the bonus content. I'm not going to elaborate on anything else. But if you're wondering why, you know what I mean, you can't, look at my, I have playlists that are coming out, and in the future, I'll make more content to come out. I want to end on that. I think we ended on a really good point about the mentality and everything. I think the bonus point is what it is. Just a bonus point. But if you like this video, if you, you know what I mean, are lucky enough to be in touch, you know, hey, let's stay in touch. And if you're watching this video and you think you're going to be able to find other content like this, you're not. So you should just stick around. Anyways, I'll check you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Hope this lets help. Peace.
If you found the one, you should never give her up. I think it's the way life changes when in love, yeah. I surround my soul with the positivity. That's why I don't worry about the things that I don't see, yeah. These days I don't worry about much. I think we should have some more fun. I still dream about the days when we were young. I'll take a hit and still